Student success in NativeAccent is largely based on active learning time and engagement. Students that spend 2 or more hours per week working on their assigned Intelligent Tutor lessons will gain significant improvement in 5 hours of active learning and sustained improvement in 10 hours of active learning. Active learning time is often misunderstood by students. In NativeAccent, any minute during which the record button has been pressed either starts the clock or continues the clock, counting up active learning time. NativeAccent lessons are 15 minutes long. If a student is actively engaged in a lesson, they will click and record for each exercise at least once. If, however, they pause to speak to their neighbor, ask a question, read instructions, or practice without actually recording, the system will wait for them to click the record button to start accruing active learning time again. The best outcomes for student improvement are achieved when the student practices 2 lessons per day, an average of 5 days per week. 2.5 hours of practice 1 day a week is not recommended. Some students have tried to game the system by clicking the record button without doing the actual exercises, but rather recording another audio source from random conversations, talk shows, radio programs, and class lectures. Some students have had their friends do their recording for them. There are 2 reports that are important for understanding student activities and behavior. The Class Recording Report and the Student Improvement Analyzer can be used to monitor student active learning time and engagement and to identify problem areas in the student's speech and in the use of NativeAccent. The Class Recording Report is a date range report that allows the teacher to listen to student recordings. It is useful for spot checking engagement and for diagnosing microphone problems and linguistic challenges. Additionally, this report displays a table of active learning time and the number of recordings over the specified date range. The Student Improvement Analyzer, or SIA, is not a date range report. It displays the total active learning time and percentage improvement by comparing the skill scores from the initial assessment to the current skill levels for each student. The SIA shows the percentage gains in each skill area. Used together, the Student Improvement Analyzer and the Class Recording Report can identify whether a student is doing their assigned practice activities during any date range and evaluate the student's engagement and learning gains. Teachers can run the Class Recording Report on a weekly basis and copy the table into a spreadsheet to track active learning time during the term. Carnegie Speech recommends that teachers spot check students' recordings early in the term to see if there are linguistic or technical problems such as the microphone not being adjusted properly, background noise, or non-curriculum audio recordings. Showing this report to students after the first week or so has been an effective tool to ramp up active learning time and engagement. The Student Improvement Analyzer report is used to gauge the student's engagement and to track improvement. The SIA requires 2 to 3 weeks following the student's first logins to gather enough data for a reliable picture of student engagement. Each student starts with a different level, which makes percentage improvement a difficult metric to correlate with a grade. Students who start with a high initial score have less headroom to improve. Students with a lower initial score can make very large gains as there is greater room for improvement. The color-coded histogram is intended to show students' overall performance levels and gains. The color-coded histogram and the percentage improvement numbers are used together to document student progress and to identify possible issues. For example, a student who shows high active learning time in the SIA of, for example, 120 minutes per week or more, but whose improvement after 4 weeks is marginal, 10% or less, merits further investigation, or review. To investigate, go to the class recording report and spot check the students' recordings to see if they are on task and if they're having a linguistic or technical problem such as a microphone not being adjusted properly, background noise, or non-curriculum audio recordings. The SIA and the class recording report can be run in a matter of minutes. When used in the first 2 or 3 weeks, they can identify student behavior and provide a reliable measure of engagement. Motivation is especially important in any computer-based training. Students have many competing priorities. A weekly review of active learning time and the automated email reminder system are both effective tools in identifying time on task and engagement issues early in the term and can help students to understand and adjust their native accent practice.